Welcome back to Rabbit Hole Research. If you didn't know, if you know, you know. But if you didn't know, if you know, you know. But if you didn't know, we are now at session 007. That is 007 for those of you who are wondering where this infamous music stems from. I should probably stop playing this before I get a copyright strike of some sort. Lord knows people are all about their strikes and craziness like that, so we'll have to cut that fun short. But we do return back to our regularly scheduled music programming. This is fine. We can roll with this. We can roll with this. Kind of came up with the, like, it dawned on me, like, as I was about to go live, I was like, oh, that's 007. That's the James Bond stuff. That would be kind of fun to do. That would be kind of fun to do a little themed entrance for this session. So hope you enjoyed that one, because it will literally never happen again. Session 007 is only a once in a lifetime occurrence. It will literally never happen again. Alrighty, that being said, what will happen is we are going to dive down our rabbit hole. If you're new to Rabbit Hole Research, welcome. We take a topic that was requested or suggested, or we're not there yet, but eventually people like vote on what topics they want to see. And so we take that topic and we dive down the rabbit hole as far and wide and deep as we can go. And when we come back, by the end of the week, we will have ourselves a roadmap. And that roadmap typically consists of a report which consolidates all of the information that we went and gathered. And then in addition to a report, there is typically some kind of actionable tool item. I was about to say toolkit, but kind of a toolkit. Just a little something to get your creative juices flowing, to take the big old chunk of data that we make into a report, and then we take that report and then try to make it so that you can do something with the information. And yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here. And you'll see the live process here on wherever you're watching the live stream from. And I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, we do the live process here, go down the rabbit hole and get as much source material as we can. Then I'll need some time to whittle things down, create the report, create any deliverables, make sure that they're ready to go. And then some point at the end, near the end of the week, we'll do a preview where we do a report reading, and I'm basically reporting to you with the report that we create. So yeah, that's how that works. Now I see that I need to reconnect the window that I need to share. Yes, this one. Okie dokie, ladies and gentlemen. Well, since we are here, we've had our fun at the entrance, session 007. Let's get into it. There we go. I was trying to do like a little magic throw. Alrighty. So looking at our starting point for the live stream, at least, I've gone through and I've done the boring part of pre-collecting the source material. We ended up with 138 sources. And for those of you that missed the randomized wheel selector, our topic that we selected for this week was daily Jung shadow work. So very introspective, self-reflective kind of a topic. And I think last week for the feng shui topic we used the scholar, and so we're using that again this week. And I kind of like how it came out with this first section. So where it basically took everything from the source material. Yeah, it did do a little bit of extra work, but so it takes the source material and it spit out like a kind of like a summary, but not really. It gives us a general place to start from. And so I will read this beginning portion because it's a little bit important. And then I went ahead and I picked out these 4 topics for us to continue exploring further. So the subtopics, after we get done with the piece above, efficacy, which will include comparative outcomes, optimal dosage, and the Dunning-Kruger effect, risk. Second subtopic will be cultural adaptation versus colonial legacy. This will include indigenous critiques, Kabbalah, Hindu integrations, and decolonization in practice. The third subtopic will be the IFS convergence, which is internal family systems, for those who are not familiar. This will include ontological conflicts, clinical integrations, and the self problem. Imagine that. And then the fourth and final subtopic will be the commodification critique, including algorithmic shadow, credentialism versus accessibility, and economic analysis. So as you can see, in addition to the source material, these will be the next 4 spaces that we explore. So it's not like we're going in blind necessarily. We're just kind of following where the trail leads naturally. And these happen to be the 4 most critical subtopics requiring exploration to supplement the source material. Not like we don't already have enough information to begin with, but it's not necessarily a rabbit hole if you just stop there. Now, is it? I'm just saying. Okay. So, I'm going to... Oh. How did I do that last time? I'm trying to remember what I did last time so I could keep the ball rolling. I think I just had a note. I think I literally just had a note, and then let's see. Could have sworn there was a way to paste it so it didn't have all the funky formatting. Try that again. It's not in there. It's not in there. Ah, there you are. Yes. Just like that. That will make things a tiny bit easier for me to follow along with. Oh, boo. That looks funky. Okay, please explore. So we're gonna get that first one going just for the sake of momentum, while we return to the beginning of the iterative phase. That's the whole point of having like the scholar as part of the next piece, so that we can take the source material, expand upon it, and just iterate from one necessary topic to the next. Alrighty, so Jungian origins from the 1920s to the 1960s. The concept of the shadow emerges from Carl Jung's analytical psychology, first articulated in his collected works, particularly Volume 9, Part 1, titled Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious. Jung describes the shadow as, the shadow is that hidden, repressed, for the most part inferior and guilt-laden personality whose ultimate ramifications reach back into the realm of our animal ancestors. It does not consist only of morally reprehensible tendencies, but also displays a number of good qualities, such as normal instincts, appropriate reactions, realistic insights, and creative impulses. Not gonna lie, that sounds a little bit similar to a really popular topic that was covered by Dr. K from Healthy Gamer. Yes, the microphone's on. It's working. Why is it super low? I sure hope not. Everything else looks fine though. We're just gonna keep going because everything looks fine. Okay. Moving on. Jung positioned shadow integration as the apprentice piece of the individuation process, which is the masterpiece being anima and animus integration. Oh, yeah, anima and animus is also another popular topic recently covered by Dr. K. Notably, Jung warned that the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, requiring considerable moral effort, a framing often lost in contemporary popularizations. The Path to Daily Practice, 1990s to 2010s. That's pretty recent. The translation of Jungian shadow work into daily self-directed practice represents a significant departure from clinical tradition. Robert A. Johnson's Owning Your Own Shadow, published 1991, served as a bridge, making Jungian concepts accessible to lay readers while maintaining therapeutic depth. Johnson emphasized, "The real strength of this work is the author's ability to reduce complex concepts into a form which can be so easily read. The biggest error a reader can make is to try to read the book as a step-by-step manual." Hey, it's a quote, okay? I gotta come up with some kind of funky voice. It's not explicitly the same one that's in my head that I would read it in, but it's still a voice to read it in. Come on, it's a quote. Gotta have some fun with it. 3 competing frameworks. There are three distinct interpretive schools currently operating under the quote-unquote shadow work umbrella: classical Jungian and analytical psychology. This maintains fidelity to Jung's original framework. It emphasizes active imagination, dream analysis, and the therapeutic relationship. Practitioners typically hold advanced degrees and Jungian certification. Integrative contemporary coaching model. This blends Jungian concepts with internal family systems, somatic practices, and CBT-informed techniques. This emerged from the personal development industry of the 2010s to present. Recent development in 2026, this year, Frontiers in Psychology describes this approach as deconstructing limiting beliefs and false identities to become more authentic and emotionally balanced. That doesn't sound so bad. And the third is viral self-help commodification, epitomized by Keela Shaheen's The Shadow Work Journal, from published 2021 and expanded 2024. Oh. One 1+ million copies sold, driven by TikTok algorithm promotion. NYT 2024, Simon & Schuster. Upcoming from April, so like literally just a couple months ago, Shaheen's The Lightwork Journal via Simon & Schuster Atria. Debates persist, praised as valuable tool for introspection versus critiqued for oversimplifying psychological concepts. Okay, but just like with the feng shui report and tool from last week, you gotta start somewhere. You can't do that. You can't just throw people into the deep end expecting them to already know how to swim. You just can't do that. Gotta give them, you can't give them more than they can chew. Okay? It's gotta be palatable at first. Gotta start somewhere. Next up, the daily turn, a shift towards micro practices, aka 10-minute morning or evening routines, reflects broader trends in habit formation science from Atomic Habits and Tiny Habits, applied to depth psychology. These sources emphasize consistency over intensity. Small sessions done consistently create more change than occasional intensity. Habit stacking. Connecting Peter Paul Parker? Wow, that's a name. Hey, Peter Paul Parker, how is your spidey senses? Habit stacking. Connecting shadow work to existing routines like your morning pages, evening reflections, yada yada yada. Accountability structures such as apps, journals, and social media check-ins. Critical analysis. The trauma-informed critique, a growing concern. The most significant scholarly and clinical pushback centers on contradictions. Multiple sources in the inventory warn, contradicted for people in active mental health crisis, those with untreated trauma, PTSD, dissociative disorders, or severe depression. The process of confronting suppressed material can be destabilizing without professional guidance. That was a strange mix of sound effects. Specific clinical warnings include active PTSD symptoms, including nightmares, hypervigilance, and flashbacks, also dissociative episodes and acute mental health crises. The unfalsifiability problem. This came up in the feng shui rabbit hole deep dive thing session last week. A persistent epistemological critique from academic psychology. There can be no scientific refutation of Jungian psychology because Jungian psychology is not scientific to begin with. Collective unconscious, shadows, synchronicities, these are all conjectures. Decolonization and shadow. Recent scholarly development from 2024, MDPI's Religions Journal published Seeing Jung's Shadow in a New Light, Decolonizing the Undisciplined Depths, arguing Jung's rejection of artificial, rigid, and reductive assumptions makes his work useful for undisciplining the academy. However, counter-critiques note Jung's documented anti-Semitism, idealization of the East, and the ossification of rigid defenses and massive projection in Jungian organizations. The IFS integration, a significant theoretical development, the convergence of Jungian shadow work with IFS therapy. Sources document that IFS provides parts-based dialogue, similar to Jung's active imagination, for relating to shadow material with curiosity rather than fear. Key distinction is that IFS emphasizes befriending protective parts. Classical shadow work emphasizes owning disowned aspects. So this topic reveals the phenomenon illuminating several broader cultural tensions, which include the democratization of depth psychology, the movement of Jungian concepts from analyst's office to TikTok algorithm represents both accessibility and dilution. The quantified self meets the unconscious. The irony of using habit trackers, accountability apps, and streaks to engage with the irrational shadow self. And the therapeutic turn in self-help. The shift from fix yourself to integrate yourself, though critics argue this is semantics. Okay. And the rest of this, as they say, is history. Just kidding. We ain't even there yet. Allow me to prepare the next one. Yes. Do it. Just do it. Okay. Is there... Let me just glance over this, because this is a little bit different than what I'm used to. Yeah, I think to avoid getting caught in the weeds, like I have a tendency to do, I think I'm going to skip past the majority of this simply because it's just like a bulk of material. Not that it's irrelevant, just that we can do other things with our time. Okay, so on the topic of comparative outcomes, so this is subsection 1.1. We conclude that the comparative efficacy question remains unanswered by current evidence. Clinical Jungian therapy has strong support. Self-directed journaling has modest support from adjacent expressive writing research. But the specific claim that daily shadow work produces outcomes comparable to or synergistic with clinical work is not empirically established. The risk-benefit profile likely varies by population, subclinical versus clinical, and trauma history, etc. We need more evidence to identify the gap. Oh, sufficient evidence exists to identify the gap, but is insufficient to fill it. We've already begun numero 2. And going to want to lock and load for the third one. All right, so this is, oh, it just finished 1.2. Get 1.3 going. Why did it do that like that? That's weird. It's almost like it, I don't understand how it decided to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Oh, wow. Prescriptive versus evidence-based gap. The source, oh, hello. The source inventory shows the 10-minute daily formulation appears in multiple sources. Simple 10-minute shadow work routine for morning and evening. Small sessions done consistently create more change than occasional intensity. Consistency is key in shadow work journaling. Set aside specific time each day. However, the targeted searches reveal no empirical studies specifically testing 10 minutes versus 30 minutes, daily versus 3 times weekly, morning versus evening timing, or cumulative effects over time. So this is again prescriptive rather than evidence-based. Not that that necessarily devalues, diminishes the use of it necessarily. It's just that it's kind of whatever. It's like saying, "Oh, I wish I could go outside," and actually walking outside. That's kind of what they're saying the difference is right there. Optimal frequency for expressive writing appears to be 2 to 4 times a week, not daily. Writing for 5 to 10 minutes daily will likely produce more benefit than 1 long session per week. But this compares daily short versus weekly long. So it's apples to it's a little bit apples to oranges comparison. More frequent sessions produce faster gains, but total amount of change may be similar. Ooh. So I guess that could indicate like one of those 30-day challenges could very well be beneficial. Now, if you're trying to make it a habit, if you haven't already seen that session, if you're trying to make something a habit, you gotta break past 90 days. What's this next one? Daily might be counterproductive. Problems with micro habits. Oh, it may conflict with depth psychological principles. IFS models. IFS emphasizes quality of relationship with your parts, not the quantity of sessions. This may support intensive retreats, as-needed engagements triggered by life events, or therapeutic containers with daily maintenance. This is low confidence finding, not enough objective data to support. And so, in conclusion, for subsection 1.2, the 10 minutes daily, I want to tell you, getting in the weeds. The 10 minutes daily recommendation lacks empirical foundation, just mentioned that, in shadow work specifically. Adjacent evidence from expressive writing suggests 2 to 4 times weekly may be optimal, while therapy research supports weekly depth over daily frequency. The recommendation appears to derive from contemporary habit formation, including consistency, streaks, and microhabits, commodification pressures from apps, journals, courses requiring daily engagement, and TikTok viral content formats. Short, repeatable, algorithm-friendly. This does not come from Jungian clinical practice, which traditionally involved 1 to 3 weekly analysis, nor empirical outcome research. It does not include that. The optimal dosage for shadow work remains unknown and likely varies by individual, life circumstances, and therapeutic need. The current 10-minute daily consensus may represent behavioral science colonization of depth psychology rather than evidence-based integration. We have enough evidence to question the consensus, but insufficient to establish alternative protocols. Bummer. Double bummer. It got caught up in the thing. It was doing the thing, and then it get caught up. I think that's the algorithm version of analysis paralysis. It tried to repeat the previous track or the previous iteration, doing 4 or 5 different checks, and then it got caught up. Please explore. We're not there yet, because we have to redo this one. Okay, well, we made it this far. We'll let it do its thing. We'll let it do its thing. And in the meantime, we'll have ourselves a little intermission. Gotta make sure. Sure. Got the right screen. Is this the one? Pretty sure that's it. Yeah, that's the right one. Alright, so while it's doing its thing, we're gonna have ourselves a little intermission. Now, I'm gonna say something that might sound just a little bit crazy. I can actually afford my healthcare now. Not like afford it with air quotes, but like I could actually afford it without, having to kiss other bills goodbye. So this is impact health sharing, not insurance, but it is a 501c3 community with members who share medical costs together. There's no middleman, no profit-driven bureaucracy. You can quite literally see where your money is going and who is helping. What I pay right now is literally 4.2 times less than what I was quoted elsewhere. So the thing that surprised me the most was that there's no network restrictions. I can see almost any doctor that I want to. And I know it. Some of you might be thinking it. I know it. The front desk lady might tell you, we don't take that. But here's what I've learned. Impact pays providers within 1 month, faster than any insurance company. And believe you me, when I say doctors really, really, really like that. A lot. So when the front desk person gives you the look, you can just say, it's a health sharing plan. Would you mind using the EDI payer ID on the back of my card? And watch what happens. It's like magic. Oh, and who doesn't like a good bonus? They will reward you for living well. Gym memberships, supplements, yoga, up to $150 a month, and it goes towards your total plan amount just for doing healthy stuff you're probably already doing. I see you swimmers. I see you football players. You and your 2026 FIFA Cup International Tournament thing going on. Getting your asses kicked by American Heat, American Summer Heat. May God have mercy on all your souls and all your sweat glands. I hope you all have plenty of electrolyte, trace minerals for your drinks. Oh. In summation, please use our super special link. Just answer a couple of quick questions and see your actual price. No email required. See for yourself and live well with Impact Health. And just in case you're wondering about those questions, that's the CEO of the company, by the way, if you didn't know. If you didn't know, no. Here you go, right there. Just literally 2 questions. Just short, sweet, simple. That's what we're trying to go for here. Short, sweet, simple. Get it going, right? Make it easy. Not trying to, I mean, obviously you want to do your diligence and figure out if this is something that you're actually going to benefit from, or if it should just be like a supplemental insurance or whatever the case might be for you. Oh, by the way, if you're like elderly, if you have, Medicaid A and B, then you qualify for the senior level of impact healthcare. So there's a nice little bonus for the elderly folk. We're going to come back to our, it's done with its thing. And I'm gonna get the next one rolling too. Make sure I copy. Ooh, wait a minute, did I just redo the same thing? Uno momento. No? Question mark? Hang on a minute. Did I just double the same thing? No, I don't think so. Okay, phew. Oh no, it got caught up in its thing, then we had to redo it. I think that's the one. Okay. This is 1.2. Yes. Okay, those are ready to go. Okay, so this one, so we had to redo 1.3. That's what happened. So, okay, so the Dunning-Kruger effect itself describes a cognitive bias where individuals with limited ability at a task overestimate their competence due to a lack of metacognition, which is their ability to step back and examine themselves objectively. Shadow work specifically targets unconscious material, making accurate self-assessment inherently difficult. If the shadow is successfully repressed, the ego experiences no signal that something is missing. I believe we call that a blind spot. They may believe they are doing the work while actually reinforcing avoidance. This is known as spiritual bypassing. Ooh. Before I forget, we literally just shared impact health. How do I forget the wellness check after sharing impact health? It just didn't faze me until now. Remember, drink. Make sure you're hydrating. Blink. Not like a creep, but just make sure you're blinking. Breathe through your nose, into your belly, gently. This is just for dramatic effect. What was the other one? Drink, blink, breathe. Back, your posture. Just remember to, crunchy. Good thing I'm got an appointment this week. Yeah, so that was your wellness check post impact health. Drink, blink, breathe, back. You got it. That's right. Now we can continue. Wow, that's a lot mixed in there. Okay, so all of skipping the chunk of it, the Dunning-Kruger risk is a self-guided shadow work. What did I just say? The Dunning-Kruger risk in self-guided shadow work is theoretically significant, but is empirically underexplored. The mechanisms are plausible. A defense mechanism, such as spiritual bypassing, masquerades as growth. 2, lack of containment allows projection to be enacted rather than interpreted. 3, metacognitive limitations prevent accurate self-assessment. 4, feedback vacuum reinforces false competence. The 10 minutes daily format may amplify this risk by creating ritual without depth, providing sense of accomplishment without change, and algorithmic reinforcement like streaks and likes for superficial engagement. Self-guided shadow work should include external validation mechanisms such as regular consultation with Jungian-informed therapists, peer supervision groups, relationship feedback, how do others experience me, and behavioral markers, not just a felt sense of progress. All right, now we're into number 2. Blah, 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 doing the thing. Does the shadow work concept presuppose a bounded individual self that is culturally specific rather than universal? So this is Buddhist African psychology, Buddhist psychology. Decolonization, Indigenous alternatives. That's African, that's Asian, that's also African. What, there's no Native American? Those are the only indigenous ones that included anything? Okay, let's see here. The second, yeah, please do that. Do it. We'll get 2.2 started. All right, so moving past the chunky part, Indigenous critiques reveal that Jung's shadow is not a universal human experience, but a culturally specific construction of European individualism, the bounded self, Christian theology, fall and redemption narrative, and colonial ethnography, encounter with primitive as the shadow. Alternative frameworks, such as Ubuntu, Buddhism, and African psychology suggest the disowned self may be relational disconnection, not intrapsychic repression. Healing may require community and ritual, not individual analysis. The goal may be liberation from self, not integration of self. The daily Jung shadow work practice may be particularly culturally bound, individual and not communal, written, not oral and ritual, daily discipline, not seasonal or cycle, and self-focused, not ancestor-focused. Alright, so now we get into, what is this, 2.2. Subsection 2.2. Two synthesis projects. Kabbalistic integration. The Kelipot are not merely evil, but the vacuous apparitions sustained in their seeming existence only by the divine light that they have captured. This parallels Jung's insight that the shadow contains a number of qualities and potentials that can help round out our character. That was a little bizarre. Kabbalistic integrations challenges conventional therapeutic morality. The point is not to advocate for literal transgression, but to recognize that authentic healing sometimes requires crossing the boundaries of conventional goodness or health. This creates tension with trauma-informed care, which is how to distinguish between necessary descent into darkness and harmful re-traumatization. Oh, Hindu integration also. Hindu psychology sees the shadow not as repressed content from like Freudian and Jungian, but as avidya, fundamental misidentification of self with ego. The shadow is the illusion of separateness itself. Syncretism versus appropriation. Nothing explicitly interesting. Key tension shows Jung preserves duality, the ego versus shadow, light versus dark, while Hindu Advaita transcends duality, while Kabbalah holds dynamic tension. Coincidentia appositorum. Wow, that was a fancy ass word. Critical questions for practitioners. When you integrate the shadow, are you healing psychological splits like Jung, repairing cosmic catastrophe like Kabbalah, or recognizing illusion of separation like Hindu? These are not the same. We are Martians. Other questions too. Who contains the work? Analyst, like Jungian frame, community, a Kabbalistic frame, or guru self, the Hindu frame. And what happens to evil? Is it integrated, like Jung, transformed and repaired, like Kabbalah, or seen through, like Hindu? When Kabbalistic concepts like Tikkun or Hindu concepts like Svadhyaya become 10-minute journaling prompts, TikTok aesthetics, or shadow work journals, is this democratization or dilution? It's kind of a little of both, wouldn't you say? I mean, you gotta start somewhere, right? You gotta make it accessible. But they're not necessarily gonna get the full picture right away. Again, you can't just throw people in the deep end expecting them to swim. And they're sure as heck not gonna drink all the water either to save themselves. That would be weird. Let's see here. Oh yeah, next please. All right, the integration is, ironically, or maybe not ironically, we'll see. Intellectually sophisticated. Ungar Sargon's work demonstrates genuine scholarly engagement with primary sources. The Zohar. No, that's Zoltar. Okay. I was like, wait, isn't that like an arcade like fortune reader or something? And I was like, no, that's Zoltar. Zoltar is the arcade fortune teller. Lurianic text and Sabbatian history. Something that's therapeutically promising. The framework addresses limitations of conventional psychology, holding paradox, engaging evil, and collective dimensions. It's also politically complex. Who speaks for these traditions? Who profits? Who decides authentic use? I feel like that was, again, that's like the same kind of questions that came up last week in the feng shui session. Kabbalah Hindu integration and popular shadow work is likely syncretism at the surface, borrowing the vocabulary, appropriation at depth, losing theological complexity, and bypasses at worst, using spiritual framing to avoid psychological work. Practitioners engaging these syntheses should study primary sources, engage living traditions, acknowledge limitations, and maintain humility. What? How are you only that far? What were you... What kind of thing were you doing? Oh my heavens. That was a very dragged out thing. Okay, that is 2.3. Got it. Let me get 3.1 ready. Since we're waiting and all. Okay, so this is now 2.3, yeah. Let's get 3.1 started, if you would please. Oh, it's still going. The shadow as a colonial concept. The metaphor assumes a binary structure of light and dark, conscious, unconscious, civilized, and primitive. The hierarchy. Dun dun dun! The hierarchy involves integration equaling progress equaling westernization. The individual pathology assumes problems located in persons, not systems. 5 principles of a decolonized practice include centering Indigenous voices as experts, espers? Can we produce espers by doing shadow work? That is not a reliable theory. First, they would center Indigenous voices as experts, not subjects. The current problem is that Indigenous practice... Oh, too many weeds. The second one would be relational rather than individual. The third would be collective rather than personal shadow. The fourth would be questioning the universal archetype. Fifth would be from integration to liberation. Decolonized shadow work might look like these practice elements: community-based, historical and ancestral dimension, accountability to community, action-oriented, and non-appropriative. In sum, it requires not surface changes, but diverse images in marketing, cultural competence training, adding Indigenous words to Jungian concepts. But structural transformation: who teaches, who profits, what is valuable, and what gets healed. The daily Jung shadow work in context. A current practice of 10-minute daily individual journeying, self-assessed, is arguably most colonized form. It's individual, it's commodified, it's decontextualized. It's arguably also the least decolonizable. structure itself preventing collective, relational, or systemic engagement. One alternative, a community-based, elder-guided, action-oriented, historically rooted practices that may not be called shadow work at all. I'm surprised they got medium. We have medium confidence on this finding. Oh. Need to get a 3.2 look ready. Go for it! Whoa, wait a minute. Skirt! Rewind! What are you doing? Okay. Okay, we're going to be a little more specific. Explore ontological conflict. That's bizarre. That's the first time it's ever been like, hey, we've been doing this for a while now. Oh, we just passed 50%, 53.1%. We just passed halfway mark. Hi. First time chatter. First time chatter. Cool. Thanks for popping in. Hope you dig my researcher LARP. And what did it think was going on? Then exploring all. Don't tell me you're ready to tap out already! Huh? Wow. You got it. Okay. Okay. I think we pushed it to an edge. It said, hey, we've been doing this for a while. Maybe we should do something different. And I'm like, bro, no. Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we do. This is what we're doing. We're going down the rabbit hole as deep and far and wide as we can take it. Within reason, obviously. I mean, we already been at this for what, an hour now? Like, we're not stopping. That's the point. We're not done with the deep dive yet. We gotta keep going. I mean, we don't got to, but we're gonna. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. We're gonna go deep diving. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. We're gonna go deep diving. Let's see here. Okay, so we made it redo. Don't get lazy on me now. Don't get lazy on me now. Yeah, hang on. Let me just boop, and then click, and then boop, and then we'll get that one going next. Oh, wait, it wasn't done. I thought that had already changed icons. I didn't realize it was still printing. All right, well, anyway, 3.1, moving on. The ontological question, bruh. I know, I do that. I did it myself. Ontological, it's kind of a big fancy word, means relating to the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being, and or showing the relations between the concepts and categories in a subject, area, or domain. All right, so it's about like the origin, the nature of ourselves, I guess you could say. Jungian ontology is where the Jungian ontology claims a binary structure, a repression mechanism, integration imperatives, and moral dimensions. IFS ontology claims multiplicity, protective functions, self-presence, and unburdening. 4 tensions include repression versus protection, integration versus multiplicity, moral frameworks, and the nature of self. Can they coexist? IFS provides method in how to relate to parts, and Jung provides content, what the parts represent archetypally. Okay. So, survey says, ontological verdict says, these frameworks can coexist pragmatically, but not theoretically. In practical integration, many clinicians successfully combine IFS and Jungian approaches, using IFS for structural work and Jungian for depth or archetypal work. They have different ontologies of the self, they have different etiologies, and they have different goals. Resolution is either eclecticism, using both without theoretical integration, a synthesis, develop new frameworks transcending both, or a pluralism, accept multiple valid ontologies for different contexts. If there's one thing you gotta be wary of, is discrepancies. You can't just cherry pick everything that you think is good or that works. Because at some point, unironically, you're gonna bump into some discrepancies. And that's not gonna help anyone. Especially when your practice and your beliefs are on divergent courses like this. Ooh, craziness, smacking into things. Clinical indications of when IFS shadow work is helpful, including complex trauma and PTSD, treatment-resistant depression, eating disorders, and addiction. Contraindications when IFS shadow work may cause harm, dissociative disorders, active psychosis or schizophrenia, severe personality disorders, or spiritual emergencies and crises. This one I find interesting because I'm like, well, if you're trying to like integrate these things, like wouldn't that be presumed to be more helpful? Unless it just exacerbates the features and like the presentation of the features that they have. I wonder if it's wait. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like they're not quite stable enough to be able to have that conversation. This one makes sense because these are the ones that are most likely to do the spiritual bypassing. And then obviously you can't do that in a crisis, emergency of any kind, spiritual or otherwise. Tentative, yes, highly tentative. Oh, let's see here. Please explore. Okay, so having said all that, the state of clinical integration. What we currently know is that IFS and Jungian approaches are being practically integrated by clinicians with internal family systems providing a structural containment and Jungian providing archetypal depth. What we do not know is whether this integration improves outcomes compared to either approach alone and for whom this approach is most appropriate. The quote-unquote clinical integration question remains largely unanswered by empirical research. It is driven by practitioner innovation rather than evidence-based protocol. The clinical wisdom exists, the empirical foundation is weak. Specific indications or contraindications are currently theoretical. Bruh. Come on. Killing me. Killing me, Smalls. You took forever and a day to do your think thing. I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's doing it faster than I could do it, but damn. Like, damn. In the meantime, we are nearing our final subsection. We have reached subsection 3.3, and we will soon begin subsection 4.1. This is okay, so this is the self problem. 3.3. lot of, I mean, some of this is a little bit repetitive from previous subtopics. Subsection. Again, still trying to figure out if they can be mixed or not. Well, coexisting, I don't think is the issue. It's whether they should be mixed or not. Because you could use either one individually. But whether they synergize with one another or whether they compete with one another. Again, distinctions, discrepancies. Are you on the right track or are you off track? Okay, well, now that this is ready for us to finally load the next one. The self problem, different destinations, or semantic confusions. The self concepts are genuinely different. Jung has archetypes that are transcendent, achieved, and unique. Internal family systems has qualities. They're immanent, inherent, and harmonious. But they may describe similar experiences of wholeness, presence, wisdom, and compassion. Current clinical recommendation is acknowledging the difference and not conflating the models. Respect the client's experience, which self resonates. Integrating pragmatically to use what works, and avoid ontological rigidity. The theory serves the practice, not the other way around. The self problem may be less of a problem to solve rather than a tension to hold. Between becoming and remembering, transcending and immanence, uniqueness and harmony. Clear differences exist. The clinical significance is unclear. Both models are individually valuable. Yo. I'll double check where we're at there. Oh, that's probably good. I don't see any new chatters. No new chatters. Yes or no? Yeah, go ahead. Yo, what? I literally thought you were done. Man, it's really doing the thank thing today. For real. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. Man, this is the most thanking that the thank thing has ever done. It's doing a whole lot of thinking going on. That's what's going on. The thank thing's going on. I mean, to be fair, the thank thing did say, like halfway through the session, that maybe we should do something different. I don't know. Kind of sounds like it was ready to quit. Or maybe it was getting bored. Either it wanted to quit or it was getting bored. I don't know. Who can say? What is this? Yeah, definitely do that. If you would be so kind. And then, while it's starting, subsection 4.2, prepare the final subtopic. So this was dun, 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 dun. Oh, for commodification, algorithmic shadow. Yeah, now we're twisting this onto the technology now. So marketers from TikTok understand algorithms, and their success is not clinical, it is algorithmic. Don't conflate presence with substance, ladies and gentlemen. This is the moral of the story. Do not conflate. Can I? No? Yeah, whatever, let it. Can shadow work, by definition, difficult, slow, and uncomfortable, survive a dopamine economy? That's funny. Oh, the trap! Shadow work becoming content creation rather than introspection. You've bastardized it. You rat. You rat fink. You fiend. You vile pigs. How could you? You've twisted it into something unrecognizable. How dare thee! Ugh! You sicken me. Disgusting vermin. What else do we have? What else do we have here? Yes, by the way, my energy is dipping. I can tell because my voice is getting close to being shot. Yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it. It's like when you're exercising and your muscles are like, ooh, got too much lactic acid built up. It's so sore. I can't feel my arm anymore. It's kind of what my throat feels like after talking for too long. Oh, there it is. Whoa. Holy smokes, was this section that long? Oh, no, we already started the second one. Okay, got it. Okay, well, in that case, the short story for the algorithmic shadow is a new phenomenon. It is showcasing short form 60 seconds versus 60 minutes. It's aestheticized, becoming beautiful versus difficult, performative, public versus private, commercialized, product versus process, and algorithmic, optimized for engagement versus truth. Is it shadow work? No! It lacks depth, containment, and integration. Oh, totally read that wrong. That was my bias coming out. So it is not shadow work if it lacks depth, containment, and integration. It is shadow work if it engages with disowned material and seeks wholeness. It might kind of sort of be shadow work if it's in a new form with new rules with unknown outcomes. The form, algorithmic, viral, and short form content, reshapes the content itself. Shadow work becomes content creation. Dude. Who needs client confidentiality when you can just out yourself? Gross, man. It's a reason why you don't air your dirty laundry like that. Although, there was that piece earlier that mentioned the community aspect. But that, again, that's not the the containment part's not there. If you have that contained aspect, then even if it's like in like a community-based thing, like you still get that supportive containment for the process itself. But in that case, it's performative. It's, what did they say? Something over process. Product versus process. Public versus private. Yeah, those two. Stupid. Don't out yourself like that. Okay, this is subtopic 4.2. We're almost there, guys! We're almost there! Credentialism versus accessibility. Legal landscape, therapy versus coaching, blah, 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 blah. An Amazon review. Great. Talk about commodification. Licensed versus unlicensed. Ethical positions. There is a legitimate accessibility problem. Non-credentialed professionals. Non-credentialed professionals risk no training in trauma, no ethical oversight, no supervision, no insurance, and no continuity. I know a few programs that actually do have some of those things. Like they were relative, like for not being official medical, clinical, licensed methods or whatever, they were quite robust. Regulatory gaps, self-help books. Man, wasn't that like started in like the 80s? Self-help. Okay. Unresolved tension. Credentialism and accessibility are both valid values, but they're in tension. Let's see, how do I read this? So, for priorities, credentialists include safety and quality, but accessibility needs access and autonomy. For risk, credentialism has exclusion and elitism. Accessibility requires harm and exploitation. Oh, wait, what? I can't read it the same way for each line. Awkward. Okay. Okay, yeah, I totally... Woo. Okay, I'll just read it across. Priority, safety and quality, credentials, accessibility, access, and autonomy. Risk, exclusion and elitism from credentialism, harm and exploitation from accessibility. Metaphor, gate by credentialism, and a bridge by accessibility. Who benefits? Professionals and protected consumers from credentialism. Marginalized and underserved for accessibility. Who loses? Unlicensed creators and excluded consumers by credentialism. Vulnerable and misled consumers by accessibility. The Shadow Work Journal case shows credentialist critique being unlicensed marketer selling quasi-therapy and accessibility defense for affordable tool for those who can't access therapy. Both of these are true. The ethical verdict is tentative ethical verdict. Keela Shaheen's Shadow Work Journal. Legally, it is likely compliant. It's self-help, not therapy. Ethically is gray. It exploits regulatory gaps and adequate disclaimers are unknown. Responsibility-wise is debatable. It's cheaper than therapy. It's a clever marketing, but potentially misleading. The deeper problem is that the wellness industrial complex profits from mental health struggles with or without credentials. The algorithm amplifies what sells, not what heals. Current recommendations include stricter regulation of therapy claims, clearer disclaimers with meaningful visibility, platform accountability for algorithmic amplification, and consumer education on evaluating self-help. But these solutions risk reinforcing gatekeeping that excludes, as the aforementioned, marginalized communities. The tension is structural, not resolvable by individual ethical choices. The analysis is well supported, but the solutions are contested. Okay, folks, here we go. The final stretch. Subtopic 4.3. We made it to the final stretch. Here we go. Economic analysis. Wow, literally billions of dollars flooding into these industries. Billion-dollar industries. Shadow work value chain. Mapping the industrial complex. Tier 1, content creators. Low barrier, high volume. The journal product is a low cost, high margin, and infinitely replicable. Shaheen's journal outsold Oprah Winfrey. Democratization of authorship meets viral marketing. Tier 2 certification programs. Medium barrier, recurring revenue. ICF certifications cost ranges from $4,344 for an all-in accredited program to $19,000 by premium providers. Certification is aspirational. More coaches certified than can sustain full-time practice. Little bit of a discrepancy. A little bit of a shortage, if you will. Tier 3, platforms and apps. High capital, scalable. There's a high fixed cost for development and content creation. Low marginal costs at digital distribution. Network effects, more users equals more data equals better algorithms. You can lock them in with a subscription model, creating recurring revenue. Tier 4, ancillary services, the ecosystem. Basically, it's just a lot of money. Coaching sessions, retreats, workshops, corporate trainings, publishing services, marketing, PR. Hundreds to thousands of dollars. More about the certification industry, the political side of the economy, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so in conclusion, for the economic reality, the shadow work industrial complex is a... Wow, that sounded kind of menacing. It's a rational response to market conditions. There's a high demand due to the mental health crisis. There's low supply because of therapy barriers. There's platform amplification by algorithms and low barriers for no credentials being needed. It is not a conspiracy, but an emergent property of neoliberal self-responsibility, platform capitalism, mental health crises, and democratization of authorship. Current critique is not they are evil, it is the incentives produce these outcomes. Shadow work that can't be sold. The market cannot provide slowness because it's not profitable. It cannot provide difficulty because it's not viral. It cannot provide relationality because it's not scalable. It cannot provide non-performativity because it's not content. And it cannot provide uncertainty because it's not marketable. Wow, I feel like we just deconstructed the entirety of any modern industry, especially the ones that focus on marketing, digital marketing. Like, boom, right there. If you ever wondered what the fundamentals of the problem are, right there. You got them. Screenshot that. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but if you have an idea of what to do with that information, screenshot it, copy it, do what you will with it, go. The shadow work industrial complex sells speed at 10 minutes daily. It sells ease for cheaper than therapy. That is cheaper than therapy. It sells individuality being your journey. It sells performance. Share your transformation. And it sells certainty. This journal will heal you. The gap between these is the critical space. This economic analysis is well supported, and a normative critique is acknowledged. Getting heated up. Feeling myself getting heated up. No, we're not gonna synthesize. No think thing. No think thing. We're not synthesizing all of that. Alrighty. Before we wrap up here, I just want to share with you. Yes, this one, please. This is the Rabbit Hole Research Vault. Here, you will find the refined materials, not this. I feel like this is like the like a digital version of like throwing things all over your bedroom, not giving a rip, and just living in a messy, unkept bedroom. Like that's kind of what I feel like that the life process feels like that sometimes. I mean, obviously it's very like neat and linear and everything, but I'm just saying like that's a lot to process. If you've ever walked into a messy home or somebody's messy room, you're like, whoa, process overload. So much going on. It's kind of what it feels like. Anyway, so that's not what is in the vault. The vault contains the refined material. It's like we went mining, and this is now the bar of silver or the adamantium or the mithril or whatever it is that you're trying to mine for. Like this is the usable raw material that comes into the Rabbit Hole Research Vault. So get in, get started. When you pop in, you can visit our community cat. And right now, I was able to get some help figuring out how to properly put the videos into here. And so now you can, we've got the videos where you can watch and or listen. That was kind of like an accessibility feature that was requested. So I found a way to accommodate. There you go. And then whichever of these piques your interest, you'll have the documentation there available to you. So you can take it, you can leave it, do what you will with it, learn from it, be entertained by it, use it, share it, whatever you might will. Please don't be jerky and like try and resell stuff. That's not cool. If that starts happening, then this model shifts. That's one of the bad parts about having the bad apple. Like, in order to prevent the bad apple from spoiling the rest of the barrel, the environment has to shift. So don't be a jerk and do not prove the reason why we can't have nice things. That is one thing that I will certainly ask. But anyway, you can get all of the current reports, all of the current deliverables, action tools, whatever you want to call them. And yeah, you can introduce yourself here. Let us know who you are, how you found us. This is largely unmoderated discussion space for you people to speak amongst yourselves, discussing previous sessions, so on and so forth amongst yourselves. This is for the people that are taking this information and running with it. They're using it, they're learning from it. I want to hear how you're winning, how you're kicking butt out there. And then naturally, a request section. I created this section specifically so that people could put in things that they want to see covered in a following session, and on a weekly basis, the ones that have the most likes, those ones may end up getting priority. So that would be super cool to see people interacting with each other in those ways, for sure. Well, I hope you all enjoyed session 007. Yeah, that was fun. I was having a little trouble getting the video clip to the right spot. That's why there was such a long delay between the start screen, the countdown, and my appearance. I was like, oh, struggle, friction, resolve. So anyhow, so we did a heck of a dive. We did a heck of a dive today. I'm glad I'm doing this earlier in the week, because it feels like I need just a tiny bit more time to flesh out these things. So I think we'll play around with this earlier in the week timing, and hopefully that works out better for me. So that way I can actually put things together, not feel not super rushed, but somewhat rushed. Not feel somewhat rushed to squeeze all of it in, like, I don't know, like 2 evenings, 2.5-ish evenings to try to squeeze that all together. So this I think will help with that, relieve some of that pressure burden. Oh my god. Huh? Oh. So I'm like a little bit concerned. I feel a little bit concerned because like sometimes I'll feel like a rough patch, or like so it'll be looking a little thin on one spot, and I'm like, oh, my shirt's literally falling apart. Yeah, so we got plenty of more time for me to be able to put these pieces together now that we're done with the deep dive. We've gone down the rabbit hole, and next comes the roadmap, which will be shared in the preview later this week. I hope you enjoyed yourself, or at the very least enjoyed watching me be a goofball, nerding out over research topic. Hopefully there was something interesting, or maybe you started to learn something, or took a personal interest in the topic and might go pursue this independently. Yeah, and I think that pretty much covers it for the rest of the session. So have yourselves a good rest of your night. Remember to drink, blink, breathe, and check your back for your posture. I'm really looking forward to the day when I can have a comfortable ergonomic setup. That'll be a good day, I believe. You know, perhaps that will also be the same kind of day that this becomes a full-time gig. That might be pretty sweet also. We shall see. Yes. Anywho, everybody, have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you later this week for the preview report reading. Take care.